so much for joining us for the second half hour of Friends at 5. I'm Darcy Strickland.
And I'm Andrea Mock. It is day 2 of the NFL draft, and what a crowd it has been out in Kansas City, Missouri, as they make these decisions of not only who gets to play in the NFL, but who gets to be a new millionaire.
Well, tonight a lot of those aspiring athletes are waiting for their names to be called. News 19's Chandler Mack is standing by now in the studio with a closer look at the athletes who call South Carolina home and what they're hoping for next.
Yeah, Darcy and Andrea. So Clemson stars Miles Murphy and Brian Brissy set the ball rolling last night as they were the first all-male state products to get selected. And tonight, we're expecting much of the same. Let me show you some of the guys I'm thinking are going to get that call tonight. First guy I'm going to highlight is Westwood grad and Gamecock defensive back Cam Smith. Cam showed more versatility this year than the air fryer, folks. He played nickel, played corner, and was very successful at all of them. And he finished his Gamecock career with 91 tackles and 6 interceptions. Another guy that I'm going to keep an eye on is Tennessee wide receiver Jalen Hyatt. Now, Jalen bursted onto the scene last fall, folks. He won the Fred Biletnikoff Award at over 1,200 yards receiving and led the SEC in receiving touchdowns with 15. I actually had a chance to talk to Jalen while he was in Greenville last week, and here's what he told me about what he hopes to bring to an NFL franchise.
Yeah, I think they're definitely getting somebody that's like dynamic, somebody who's explosive, somebody who gets open, and somebody who's consistent. I think those 4 things really is the reason that how you make a great receiver. You know, that's how you win games. You know, somebody that can take over games. So that's really what I'm trying to bring to a team, and you know, I can't wait to show my opportunity off.
Yeah, and going back to that Gamecock flavor, Darius Rush is another player we should all keep an eye on tonight. Rush came to South Carolina as a wide receiver, but y'all, he quickly evolved into one of the best DBs in the SEC. He was second on the team in interceptions last year, and he was also a key contributor on special teams. And let me talk about some of the other guys we should keep an eye on.
All right, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for this special Inauguration Day coverage. I'm Andrea Mock.
And I'm Darcy Strickland. We are moments away from the start of the 98th South Carolina inauguration as we wait for Governor Henry McMaster to begin what could be a historical new term.
Absolutely. This is Governor McMaster's second time, actually third time, but second official ceremony being sworn in as our governor. He is 75 years old, was born here in South Carolina. Now, of course, he has been our governor since 2017. That's when he took over, when Governor Nikki Haley at the time was appointed to be the ambassador of the United Nations. So he took over in 2017 and then won election again twice after that.
We have live team coverage of Inauguration Day at the State House. We're going to begin our team coverage now with J.R. Berry, who is standing by with Dave Wilson from Insiders, one of our political experts, to talk more about what today means for all South Carolinians.
Darcy, Andrea, good morning to the both of you. Dave, good morning to you as well. The processional is getting ready to start right behind us right now. We're going to be seeing the General Assembly, the Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court, the entire congressional delegation. This is going to be about a 25 or 30-minute process.
It does take a while to get that many members of the General Assembly and all of the other elected and constitutional officials of our state down those stairs. There are 170 members of our legislature, 124 members of the House, 46 members of the Senate, as well as those folks who are in the courts, as well as our constitutional officers are going to get sworn in today. So it's a big day in South Carolina.
Part of that processional of the General Assembly will include the House Minority Leader, Todd Rutherford, who will be joining us here very soon during this broadcast. Big day for Governor McMaster, his second full term getting ready to start here in the state.
This is going to be a big moment for South Carolina history. We have to keep in mind that Henry McMaster walked into the governorship as lieutenant governor when Nikki Haley became ambassador to the UN. That gave him almost two full years as governor of South Carolina. He won election as governor 4 years ago. This is going to be his second full term, JR, and that means if he stays the entire 4 years, he will be the longest serving governor in South Carolina history. And that is a big thing for a man who, honestly, has wanted nothing more than to be governor of his state.
I've known Governor McMaster since the 80s when he was running for Congress. And you're right, he has held a number of offices throughout the state of South Carolina over the years. I believe he's been the chair of the Republican Party.
He started as chairman of the Richland County Republican Party, the state Republican Party. He has served as our attorney general for 8 years, lieutenant governor, and now governor of South Carolina for going on his second full term.
Also, he served as U.S. attorney under Ronald Reagan.
Right, he was the first U.S. attorney that Ronald Reagan appointed here in South Carolina. So that was Henry McMaster's life. His dream has always been to be a leader for South Carolina, and I think you're going to see today, and you have seen in the way he's been interacting with the legislature over the last few years, how much he is in tune with what we need for our state.
I believe House Minority Leader Todd Rutherford is going to join us now. He just came down the steps as part of the processional.
You ran fast, my friend.
Good morning to you, Todd.
It's kind of a slow run.
Talk about your thoughts on this day.
Well, it's exciting. Anytime we have an inauguration of a governor, even though he will be the longest serving governor in recent memory in South Carolina history. But it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day for South Carolina to see, again, the transition of power, even though we're not giving it over to someone new, that the governor is being inaugurated, that the entire General Assembly comes down, and people get to see their state government in action today.
What are you hoping to see over the next 4 years as far as legislation is concerned and governing under Governor McMaster?
I'm hoping to see a bipartisan approach, as he has already done. I'm hoping to see South Carolina keep running on all cylinders as we have done. He did a great job during the pandemic of not shutting us down, and we are being rewarded for that every day with the revenues that we're seeing. And we're plowing that back into South Carolina as quick as we can, making sure that economic development is on trend and going where it needs to, and plowing most of the money back into education. The bulk of our budget goes to education. You've heard the Senate Majority Leader say that. You've heard the Speaker of the House say that. And you hear me say that as well. We are laser focused on trying to get our educational standards up, stop the brain drain in South Carolina, because that is how you get more economic development. So we are making South Carolina move on all cylinders.
Dave, the governor's already presented his budget proposal for the upcoming fiscal year, which includes some money for the rainy day fund. To our viewers at home, what does that mean?
Imagine this, $500 million is going back into the savings account for the state of South Carolina. That's an important thing to keep in mind, because we're going to see economic ups and downs, and we're in a phenomenal period of economic growth. I think there's been almost $10 billion of economic growth that has been announced in South Carolina this past year. That is jobs coming in, people getting paid, things that are being done. And so when you have that level of growth in our state, we see that level of importance for, let's make sure that we can sustain that as the economy goes up and down, which can be a little fearful every now and then when you think about where things are going.
We know what's going to happen. Everybody's anticipating a downturn. Hopefully it won't be that hard. So we're preparing for that, giving Commerce the money they need right now, rather than making them bond issues as they come up, to make sure that, again, South Carolina just keeps moving.
I want to go over to Becky Budge right now. She's also out here for today's event. Becky, what do you see from where you are?
JR, it's a beautiful day here, and as you can see behind me, it's a full house here. And let me talk through some of the people in attendance. Right now we have the General Assembly walking down. That includes the majority Republican House and Senate here who have backed McMaster. We also have 5 former governors here.
I know people are so tired of delays and of detours, but we got another one to tell you about, and this is very important for your weekend travel plans. So starting at 9 o'clock on Friday night, the ramp from 20 westbound onto 26 westbound, that's going to be closed. It will not reopen until 6 o'clock on Monday morning, and officials are encouraging drivers to plan ahead and expect delays. So where do you go? Well, here's a look at the detour directions from the Department of Transportation. Instead of the normal exits, drivers should now be on I-20 West. You're going to go under the bridge and take 64A onto 26 eastbound and head towards Charleston. Now then, that's not all. Staying in that far right lane, drivers are going to have to stay to the right, exit at 107B, back onto 20, this time heading east towards Florence. And then drivers will immediately take that next exit, 64B. That will put them on only westbound towards Spartanburg. So a lot to look at. Again, this is happening on Friday night. More detours, more delays. Check out this map.
Let's dive into what happened today. I know on Friday night's broadcast, both of you were saying that if the judge allowed the allegations of financial mismanagement charges, whatever you want to call it, against Alec Murdaugh in this trial to be used as evidence, then basically his goose was cooked. You guys sticking by that tonight?
Cooked. Yeah, it seemed like Judge Newman was heavily leaning towards allowing that type of evidence. He took the weekend to think about it. We heard a little bit more today from Attorney Tinsley, and then he made his ruling. And it's coming in, and it's not just a part of it, it's all of it. From confrontations the day of the incident, to fraudulent clients, to fraud against the bank, everything. And so it's very bad news for the defense. It means that Alec Murdaugh has got an uphill. The judge is really supposed to be the gatekeeper, but he's also supposed to consider what the state considers its motive. And so here, whether the state honestly believes that's the motive or can't think of anything else to really come up with as the motive, they are going to be allowed to talk about all these other bad acts, financial malfeasance. And like I said previously, I think it's going to make it incredibly hard for Mr. Murdaugh because he's going to have to take the fifth. He's going to have to deal with a jury that knows from credible witnesses that he's a liar. And if they didn't have that information coming in, they can kind of look at this in a clean way. So Luke and I have been talking about this all day. The criminal defense lawyers in us cringe at this kind of evidence coming in, but it's great for the state. It helps them tell their story. Judge Newman was talking about res gestae, and that is exactly that, the state's ability to be able to tell their story how they see fit here.
Now let's go over some of the players all of us should keep an eye on this fall. Spencer Rattler comes into this season as a member of the Davey O'Brien Award watch list, and here's some of the reasons why. During his time at Oklahoma, Rattler completed 70% of his passes, and he also had a 15-2 record as a starter. The Gamecocks also have talent in the backfield. Marshawn Lloyd was a former 5-star prospect in high school, and after backing up Kevin Harris and Zaquandre White last year, he's expected to take the reins as lead back this fall. Another player I'll be watching this season is wide receiver Josh Vann. Last season, Vann broke out and led the team with 43 catches and 679 receiving yards. We should also be on the lookout for tight end Jaheim Bell. He tied for the team lead in touchdowns last year. Now let's take things over to the defense. On the D-line, we should keep our eyes on Zach Pickens. He finished second on the team with 4 sacks last season. I also expect Hammond legend and former 5-star pass rusher Jordan Burch to have a big season this year as he looks to fill the void left by J.J. Enagbare. But if we're talking about the Gamecock defense, everything starts with defensive back Cam Smith. The Westwood grad led the team with 14 pass deflections last season and was a member of the preseason All-SEC first team. And another starter on the Gamecock defense landed on the national radar as a member of the Georgia State program.
There's a lot to unpack here, so we're going to go through it for you. But again, an update today in the newest lawsuit involving convicted killer Alec Murdaugh. Now, you'll remember last week we told you that Nautilus, that's the insurance company that paid out following Gloria Satterfield's death at the Murdaugh family home. That company now wants that $3.8 million back. So Satterfield, who was the Murdaugh family housekeeper, she died back in 2018 after the Murdaugh family says the dogs tripped her on the front stairs of that Moselle property, and they say she fell backwards down the stairs. But then we told you about this last week, just a few days ago. On May 1st, Murdaugh's attorneys responded to this Nautilus lawsuit, claiming that he lied about the dogs causing Satterfield's fall to force the company to make that payment. And in an answer to that lawsuit, Murdaugh's attorneys proposed that the Satterfield family be added to that lawsuit. Now, you will remember if you watched the trial that he admitted on the stand during Maggie and Paul's murder trial that he stole that insurance money instead of paying Satterfield's sons. Well, today, the Satterfield family attorneys fired back, saying that Nautilus has no claim against the Satterfield boys because those boys never actually received any of that money. So attorneys Eric Bland and Ronnie Riker, they say that Murdaugh still owes their clients money, and it's disrespectful to even suggest that the Satterfields should pay anything.
Welcome to the road to the Gator Bowl. Tomorrow afternoon, the Gamecocks face Notre Dame at 3:30 inside the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. TIAA Bank Field is where the Gamecocks hope to cap off a season with a 3-game winning streak. All 3 victories will be coming over high-profile programs. And we will get you ready for kickoff in the next 30 minutes with in-depth interviews. Also a look at what Jacksonville has to offer, so stick around. It's going to be fun. We'll go ahead and jump right into what went down earlier today in Jacksonville as both head coaches took their turn at the podium for the final pregame news conference. Shane Beamer wrapping up his 2nd season in Columbia. Boy, does he have a chance to end the season with one of the most unexpected yet dramatic finishes in the history of Gamecock football. Carolina has a chance to close out 2022 with victories over Tennessee, Clemson, and Notre Dame, 3 marquee opponents. And it's a roster for this game that looks a lot different now in December than it did in November. But the guys who are in Jacksonville are certainly battle-tested.
We've got some guys that played meaningful snaps against Clemson, but that aren't here. But I just look around our room and I see a whole bunch of dudes that have made a ton of plays for us this season that are here.
We're here to focus on the game ahead. You know what I'm saying? So worrying about our preparation and getting ready for the game.
You know, we've been just helping these guys. They're great ball players. They've been showing up throughout practice and just bringing their confidence along, you know, showing them the way and, you know, knowing that they'll make plays for us on Saturday.
It's certainly different, but it's exciting too, and there's a lot of guys that have done a lot of great things for us this season that will continue to tomorrow, hopefully too.
Well, it's roughly 4.5 hours drive time on paper. Sometimes that's not reality, but 4.5 hours roughly from Richland County to Duval County. So no surprise, a lot of Gamecock fans spending their post-Christmas activities in Jacksonville. And that's where we find our Sam Perez, who gives us a look at how the Garnet and Black contingent looking to take over North Florida's coastal city. Sam.
Reggie, we are here at a pep rally. We're at the tail end of it, and Gamecocks fans have been gathering to celebrate. Now, things are not just getting started, but South Carolina fans have been here celebrating all day. That is the sound of pure joy coming from Carolina Nation in the River City.
Gamecocks have come in and taken over Jacksonville this week.
Wes Hickman is the president of the USC Alumni Association. He's been working to prepare for fans from all over.
We got people coming out of Chicago, Tampa, Charleston, Orlando, and Columbia themselves, and everybody's coming right down here to host. It's so great to be able to host everybody here.
And everyone really has shown out.
We always, me and my best friend and my family.
Yeah, our first thought when we saw everyone, we were like, oh my gosh. Like, our fan base definitely showed out for this game.
From cheerleaders like Vanessa Cooper to Cocky and more alumni, thousands of fans are in Jacksonville for the Gator Bowl.
Keep the faith, because we're going to win.
And they're decked out in their Gamecocks gear.
I'm gonna start crying. I can't even explain the feeling. Like, just to represent and have Carolina on your chest is like absolutely such a blessing.
Well, Spencer Rattler certainly can cap off his first season at South Carolina with a massive 3-game winning streak. He's had an up and down season until he and the entire team caught fire in late November. And our Chandler Mack joins us now from Jacksonville. And Chandler, what more can you tell us about the Gamecocks' high-profile number 7?
Yeah, Reggie, you know, after throwing for 438 yards in the 25-point win against Tennessee, and then following that up by leading the Gamecocks to a 14-point rallying from a 14-point deficit to beat Clemson for the first time in 9 years, it would have been an understood decision for Spencer Rattler to decide to opt out playing in the Gator Bowl. But if you have followed his journey from Oklahoma to South Carolina, you would know the same thing that he told me, that his love for Shane Beamer and his teammates made the decision to play tomorrow a no-brainer. Here's a look at Spencer Rattler's first season as a Gamecock.
It was important for me because, you know, Coach Beamer has been great to me all year. For him even bringing me here, it was a blessing. So the least I could do was play in the bowl game. So I had to do it for him, the coaching staff, and obviously the players as well.
Around this time last year, Spencer Rattler's college football career was at a crossroads. Despite posting a 15-2 record as a starter with the Sooners, Rattler was benched in his final season in Norman and traded in his crimson and white colors for garnet and black.